Now, the rest of the story.
Hi, welcome back. And I did bale today. Didn't really get a bale as much as I would have liked, but at least we got some hay made. Did about 25-30 acres approximately, all of Dad's, and didn't average anything. We got 61 bales. Not as many as I would have really liked to see, but take what we can get, right? The stuff was pretty variable. I mean, the stuff directly out here, that yielded really heavy. The stuff out by the road, that was probably the worst stuff, or the lightest stuff. And the problem I had, which is part of the reason why I stopped the baler here, is when you have really light material, what the baler tends to do, when material is going down into the pickup, you can see up into the pickup, and the net wrap there I gotta clean up. The stuff doesn't necessarily want to feed back into the chamber like it should. What happens is it likes to get up on top of these springs and sitting right up there. The problem I had was after I got to about the 9th or 10th bale, and the wind is pretty bad, the net wrap didn't want to run and put a full 3 wraps on the bale. I was only getting like 1.5. What happened was all that grass was kicking up from the pickup and coming around and getting mashed in back in front of these belts and in front of them. You can see there's some hay built up in there right now. Not nearly as bad as what it was, but when all this gets built up, it just creates pressure. And what I also had, I mean, it was more than just one issue. This, you can see there's a little bit of hay in there right now. This actually gets filled up full of hay also. I mean, up here, and then what happens is this gets full of hay, but the problem is, see that rail? There's a rail behind each and every one of these belts that it slides on. That is how the net wrap gets from the back of the baler onto the bale, because it comes down along this rail and then it comes up in front of these belts onto the bale. See, the problem is that when you're getting a lot of pressure on these belts are actually pushing down into that rail. It isn't allowing the net wrap to actually slide along it, or at least not at all, or not as much as it really should. And then you have wrapping issues. So outside of the roll of net wrap not wanting to feed last night, which once again, like I said in the last video, it was purely just because the wrap had sat all winter in the back of the baler. It was a full roll. So I'm having the same problem as last night. The camera's kicking off on me. It's not, instead of keeping recording like I want it to, it's kicking out. So if the video is kind of jagged, that's why. So in the past, I used to be a procrastinator, and I didn't always go through and clean and grease the equipment the night before or after we get done using it. I mean, granted, depends on how much of a rush you're in anymore. I mean, what part of the season and how much stuff is kind of lined up after each job. You don't necessarily always get to getting stuff cleaned up. I mean, point in case, I didn't get the baler cleaned up after corn fodder last fall, and it sat dirty all winter. That's on me. But what I like to do is I'm going to go through with the air hose and all of this dust and debris and get all this stuff blown out of here. And I do have another jug of water on each side, so this is my emergency water. Baler's been on fire before, twice, actually literally on fire once and almost on fire once. Well, pretty much there. So now, just for safety measure, I had water jugs with me in the tractor when that happened, so I was able to cool it off. But, you know, plan for the worst, hope for the best, or I guess. So I'll go through, I'm going to clean all that off, then I'm just going to grease it. Because of how dirty and dusty the tractor was from running in this super dry material. I'm going to pull the engine air filter out and the cab air filter out because the cab filter or the cab air conditioner didn't really want to cool the tractor off by the time I got done. We have 30 acres that I have to bale tomorrow yet. I don't know if I'm going to get to it tomorrow. The reason being is largely why I'm not cutting hay. I mean, I'm really tempted to go out and cut something, but today is Friday. They're calling for more weather like this, which is, you know, beautiful and sunny out, right? But they are calling for rain Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Not super high chances. They are actually bouncing around the chances between 30 and 50%, depending on the day. My problem is that the ground is dry. We have potentially good drying conditions. And the only reason I didn't keep baling tonight is the next field that I had to make is wet from the clover that's in it. So we have one of my dad's fields, the last field of my dad's that I had to bale today. The grass is dry. I mean, the grass is crinkly, like you can feel it, but the clover is literally as wet as it was the day we cut it, and that field has now been raked twice. So all of my opinions on clover are well placed. I hate the stuff. Might be great quality feed once. Well, that's twice now the camera shut off me, so we're just gonna go ahead and end this video. But the reason I started saying that as far as why I'm not cutting any more hay is because we have dry conditions. Like the next farm, I was gonna go to my place. I don't know where I'm gonna go. I mean, I can tell you guys during this video, and then I can shut the video off and change my mind again. I'm literally making this stuff up as I go. I don't really have many other choices. I mean, you're trying to have a general finish, end game, end goal is about all you can really work with, and then you just make it up as you go. Because I'm thinking about going down to the valley, but I'm not about to go and cut much of any of that down unless I know I have another dry stretch. It's easy to farm looking in the rearview mirror, and if I'd have known we were going to have this dry weather we have right now, I would have said forget spraying for volunteer corn. I would have still done it, but I would have said hook up the horses, we're going to cut the valley. Same as I did last year. Last year it burned me pretty bad. But if I knew we were going to get the weather we have right now, the ground is dry, the fields are dry. We had rain last Friday, but the grass, I mean, the ground just, it's like a sponge. The ground is, it's hard down there. So if I could go through and cut as much as I can currently get to right now, and I knew that I was going to have 90s and beautiful weather, I would have went and cut it on Monday. I would have tedded it probably Tuesday, and then we'd probably be down at the valley today making it. But I can't be right every time, right? So the reason I'm not cutting, knowing that there's rain in the forecast, even though it isn't a whole lot of rain, I'm stubborn enough at the current point in time where I'm not willing to cut hay, knowing that we'd be right at the wire as far as even getting it baled before the next chance of rain is coming. I just don't want to do it. It's the 4th of June. I'm only planning on getting 2 cuts off the valley. I mean, there's that slight hope that maybe, just maybe, I could get 3 cuttings off of it. But looking at it from another point of view, I get a first cutting off of it. The stuff is thick, it's tall. The fertilizer did its job that I spread early on. If I take the next cutting off, my sprayer is out where I can hook up to it, go down and put a bunch of 32% across it and let it grow all summer. That's kind of where I'm at right now, because we're looking at not a drought yet. I mean, at least they're still calling for rain here and there, but there's that slight concern I have that the hay we're making right now might be the only real hay we get. I mean, I'm just being awfully worrisome, but I'm not old, but I'm not young enough to think that everything is going to work out every year either. You got to have some kind of, be aware of your different outcomes you could have for the year. So with that, I need to get to doing this, get this ready for tomorrow or the next day. And then I'm gonna try to do some action shots. I was gonna do a video talking to you guys in the tractor, but that field that I was gonna I planned on talking to you guys, it was too wet, so maybe I'll do it when that happens. Cultivating, I'm not gonna be putting that sprayer on. It's amazing how I can just keep rolling here with when I said I was gonna end this. But the tractor not off of it, you guys can see what's going on here. Fertilizer tank is probably where that's going to go, if I'm going to take the time to do it or not. The biggest problem is I may actually have to put some tubing, square tubing or something, on top of these, because poor pre-planting, if that row actually comes up, could actually hit the bottom of the tank if I'm not careful. So I might have to put some spacers to raise it up a little bit just so it has the clearance. And then I would put another tank on it and I would plumb it into the existing fertilizer line. This is all done. This is exactly how I want it. I gotta go get the parts, a shut off and then the connector so I can fill the banjo valve. So at least that way I can fill these tanks running through this large filter that has 2 filters on it, and just depending on this guy burned me also, because I would have that plugged within a day and a half. So this one was pulling double duty. You don't realize how much that cleans out of those tanks until you run a season without any filters on it at all, and you're getting out every 100 feet, cleaning out all your orifices. So all I got to do, I'm just gonna take off this, got a piece of hose, I'm just gonna run a hose from here to here, connect that, that is on, and just go through and tighten everything up, because it's pretty much getting to the point where got to quit playing with what I would like to do on this and get it functional and start cultivating, because the early stuff that I would like to side dress and cultivate, with the amount of heat that we have right now, we get a rain, which like I said, they're calling for three days, not very high chances, but if we really get much of any rain with the amount of heat we've had here, that corn is going to rocket ship. It is going to take off, and then being able to go through and do any kind of side dressing is gonna go out the window. So the window of opportunity is closing. But the problem is I'm making hay. I was just talking to my buddy about that. The last 4 or 5 years, I didn't really get carried away with making hay until I was done side dressing, because dry hay in June is unheard of. I tried it last year, and like I just said, I got burned on it. So I came into this year thinking that I was gonna just wait till